I could go on and on. I mean, how else do you want to describe it? This guy could do no wrong, can say no wrong in the eyes of his followers. And they accept this because of what he has enabled them to be able to do with their feelings and who they are as human beings. Because let's face it, and you and I have talked about this many times, okay? This is all about white supremacy, okay? That's what this is all about. It's white supremacists taking over our country again, taking America back. The again part is to colonial America, you know, and I don't want to rehash all of this stuff that you and I have talked about before, but that's what this is all about. So in their eyes, there's nothing that this guy can do. I mean, how can you have prayer meetings and vigils in the White House to a guy who is a 34-time convicted felon, who's been an adjudicated rapist, has had multiple affairs, has paid off a porn. I mean, the list goes on and on. So it's mind-boggling to all of us who think in a logical way and just look at that. And, you know, what blows me away more than anything is that they never shut up about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. And we were talking a couple $1 million. And, you know, see, the people on the right don't understand that a lot of Joe's money and his wife's money, first off, she's, you know, an educated, individual who makes her own living, but they did book deals after he was vice president. Yeah. I think they together got $15 million for a book deal. Yeah. Now, do some math. $15 million, what I can't tell you offhand, but what percentage of that is to 2.6 billion? I mean, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about $2 million that people are.
And Kurt, to your point, one of them happened after they left the White House, and the other one's happening in 125 days of being in the White House.
Exactly. So I don't know, bud. If you can find the answer to that question,
I could do the math. I could do the math on it, but I'm not going to do it right now because your point's more important than the math, and it's the timing of which it is that it's taken place versus the actual raw dollars. So let me come back to something you just said about all these things that are happening, not happening, all the things that Trump's done. I saw this great clip, and maybe one you posted, to be honest with you. I can't remember. But it was about, it was you laundry listed all the things, which you and I have done, both in private and on the air. But the one thing that's clear is that the White House is not the place for Donald Trump's redemption at the hands of these quote-unquote faith leaders and faith healers and folks that are coming in to have these prayer vigils in the White House. And so this is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the place for redemption for this dude? I mean, do we have other venues where redemption should be taking place?
I mean, is that a loaded question or what? No.
I made you laugh.
I mean, I mean, really? Redemption for this guy? I mean, there's not enough time on the face of the earth for this guy ever to have, his proper redemption. I mean, this dude is just...
and we should start now. If it's going to happen, we should be starting now rather than, to your point about him further lining his pockets in the biggest grifting in history. Let me shift gears a tiny amount because I know we're going to talk about a couple other things, but I talked earlier about the billionaire women who made the Forbes. I'm sorry, the richest 50 women that made this Forbes list, and it's an impressive list of women. But it's an impressive list of women that are of color as well. There's a large number of women on the list. I mean, almost 12%, I believe, when I look back, and I've got to check people's ethnicity. But visually, I'm making this point. The bigger point I want to make, though, is something that you posted in terms of respecting women and respecting where we are as guys with women. And this is one that you really do have to follow Kurt, because he has so many funny things that he puts out, but they're they're in line with where we are in today's message. And this is another one. One of the most commonly used phrases by women on their dating profile now is no Trump supporters. and so talk about that, because it is a thing. It's not just the joking and the humor. That's a real thing.
Right. Yeah, it's actually something that is taking place and where it came from is I saw a story about conservative men are complaining because they're not being successful on dating sites. And I was like, well, really? I mean, I read that and I was like, well, I wonder why. So I started digging into it, and this is, this is a thing. This is what a lot of women out there, they just don't have time for men who are conservative and supporters of Donald Trump. And so when I posted that, it was amazing how many women that are in our community made comments. Well, I've been posting that since 2016, or that,
Kurt, you were late to the party.
Yeah, hey, thanks for bringing it out, but I've been doing this for years, So it's a thing, and they sit back and wonder why. But I've posted a couple reels here lately where I've jabbed at some conservative dudes that have put out reels that are just like, I mean, look at these guys. You wonder why they're not having success on
the dating sites and in person, for that matter. I mean,
Exactly.
It'd be fun to do for you and me, who are, I think we're both pretty respectful men, and we respect women, we respect our families, we respect all the folks around us, and I think most importantly, it starts with we respect ourselves. But to that end, Kurt, what would be, I think, hilarious, and is if you and I were to go out to, just as two guys, we go out to a club or go out to a restaurant or a bar, wherever, and we would just go as observers, and we go into an area that's a popular and predominantly red area, city or town or community, and just sort of sit back and observe. First of all, the two of us walk in as a black dude and a white dude walking into a conservative. I know your brain was already going, Richard, you know what they're going to be really thinking and looking at. But if we were to do that, but go in as observers to watch how these guys, to your post, are interacting with women in these particular places, it would just be a goofy social experiment by two goofy dudes.
I got the perfect place for it, man. It's in a little town, about 11,000 people. Red as all can be. And I guarantee you, we walk into there, heads would turn. Absolutely.
People would have to see the chiropractor.
When I was younger, I had a real good friend that I used to work out with all the time in my early 20s, and we'd lift weights and everything. And he was one of these dudes that stood in front of the mirror and checked his biceps out, and everything. I mean, he was into all of this stuff. And I was doing it just to basically stay healthy and all that.
Right.
And they used to call me Mullett because I played softball, and Pat Mullett from the Seattle Mariners. Okay, they call me Mullett because I played third base. And I'll never forget this. He was standing there in front of the mirrors one day, and he was doing his curls, and he was just staring at his biceps. And he says, "You know what, Mullett? One thing I can't figure out." He said, "You're an all right looking guy." He said, "But I've got the body. Why is it that you get all the women?" And I was like, personality, because I can carry on a conversation. I'm thinking this to myself. I didn't say this to him, and I don't stand and stare at myself in the mirror all day. I mean, it's not that difficult. I mean, my mom, you and I are both sons of remarkable women.
Yep.
And I think that's an important thing that so many men forget, that the women in our lives is what makes us great men.
Yep.
I believe that, and I always will.
No question about that.
But my mom told me when I was younger that because she could see at a younger age, that I was going to have a lot of girlfriends and female friends. She could tell that. And I can remember her sitting me down and telling me, look, you're going to have a lot of girls coming and talking to you and wanting to be your friend. And I understand. And I said, well, that's what I want. I enjoy the company of women more than I do guy friends. And she said, I understand that. She said, if you want to be popular with girls, and she didn't mean this in a negative way. She said, if you want to be popular with girls and be their friend, you got to listen to them.
Yep.
Listen to what they say to you. And I've always taken that to heart. And it's been part of my life with everything that I do, not just when I have a conversation with women, but when I have conversations. I don't like talking about myself. I like to find out what makes you tick, and then take the conversation from there. And I think that's just a simple message that so many people just. And
it's part of. I mean, we talk a lot because of the part of this that it's a talk show. But the point is listening is critically important so that we understand and we don't get caught up in our own, dialogue. I got to share this with you, Kurt, and with everybody. But I got a text on our text line that said, I guess this is referencing what I just said about us walking into a bar together and being the observers. It's someone texted me, I would pay top dollar to see that show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Especially the place I want to take you.
Oh, good God. Guys, it's Wednesday. I'm talking with our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. We're going to wrap up in a second. Kurt, take a brief minute just to kind of talk a little bit about the Indiana People's Coalition group that you are a part of and have been one of the grassroots mindsets to get this thing up and going. Talk a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, well, it's an organization here in Indiana that we just started recently. There's a small group of us that are trying to put together awareness to voters in Indiana. Basically, we are an organization that is promoting progressive Democrats that will not be taking corporate donations or PAC money or anything like that. We are promoting grassroots candidates who are fighting to save our democracy. And this is the thing you and I know. We're in our 60s. We understand that the things that are happening in our current situation, we're not going to rectify those probably in our lifetime. It's the generations behind us that are going to take care of this. And that's what this organization is all about. We're in our infancy. We're still trying to organize. We're still trying to get people to come into the organization. But basically right now we have 5 candidates, Jackson Franklin, U.S. Congressional District 9, Emily McCartney, U.S. Congressional District, Jackson was 5, Emily's District 9,
yeah,
Alex Hardy, U.S. Congressional District 6. Then we have Victoria Marks, who is actually running for Indiana House District 55. And we have an Indianapolis City Council member, Jesse Brown, of District 13 in Indianapolis. And then we have a couple campaign managers right now, Julian Franklin and Courtney Enoch, that are part of our group. So we're building and we're trying to organize and get our mission together and what we want to proceed with. But the one thing people need to understand, the younger generation, because I've mentioned this before, all of these people, I could be their father and most of them like their grandfather. So I'm kind of like but I'm used to that. I've always been kind of like the duck swimming on the other side of all the swans, but quacking and saying, hey, these there's hope and I'm inspired by these guys.
Yeah.
Their enthusiasm and the younger generations in our country, the Gen Zers and the Gen Millennials and what have you, they see what's happening. And, they understand the personal attacks that's taken place on people that are their brothers and sisters and who they love and what they stand for. And I really think there's going to be a huge movement of young candidates coming to the forefront in these next election cycles that people need to pay attention to, because they come from the Bernie Sanders and the AOC and the Jasmine Crockett world, but they don't want the PAC money. And I know a lot of us older people just, we look at them and think, well, those guys are a little that's what we need. We need some strong thinkers right now, and that's what this group is all about. And
that's exciting.
And I hope we get to talk about it again. And
we will. We definitely will.
Bringing it up, and
well, it's a template.
Let me share that with you a little bit. You
said something, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, brother. But the thing that you said, and we talked about this before in terms of Indiana being a quote-unquote testing ground for Project 2025 and what Braun is doing, right, and others. The pushback for that, and this is something that's got to be a template. What you're doing is a template, and it's got to be something laid over or an overlay throughout the rest of the country, particularly in red states, and that is the grassroots organizations. I mean, we had doctors. You heard the part of the interview I did. She must have used the word grassroots, and Dr. Grace did a handful of times in terms of the nature of their protests and their activism. So, kudos to you. We're running short on time. We're going to talk about this again. Right. We may talk about it again next week. But kudos to you and the work with the Indiana People's Coalition, y'all. Check it out. Check them out. You can find them on social if you can't. Just Google or go to Kurt's Instagram and Hoosier Blue 63 and keep all the words and letters together. Hoosier Blue 63. And you'll be able to find a lot about what Kurt is doing and follow the work that he's doing. He, like Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics podcast, are people that are taking a role. They're active. They're getting involved. So appreciate you, man. Running short on time. You know how that happens. But thanks for being with us on this Wednesday. Glad you're doing well. And go get you some rest, because I know you're tired from all that work that you did over the weekend.
Yeah. I'm doing good. Hey, Richard, thank you so much. You've been a great friend, and I appreciate the platform here. And do me a favor, say hello to Cliff tomorrow for me, will you?
I promise you I'll do that. All right, man.
All right.
Have a great day, Kurt. Thanks for being with us.
All right.
Bye-bye. Kurt Mullett, y'all, from Hoosier Blue 63. So dual shout-out. Shout-out to Kurt Hurner for helping us put together the first half of the interview with Drs. Canfora and Dr. Grace, and to Kurt Mullett, Hoosier Blue 63, for being with us this morning, as always. And, gosh, this is just kind of a good rogues gallery. Karen Byrne for the early morning call-in to get some stuff off of her brain with regard to the protests that are taking place in Forest Park. So there you go, guys. We got people that are involved, organic as it may be. We got people that are involved that are fighting to make things happen. Let's take a quick break. Excuse me, guys. Let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. That's our Credo mobile phone and text line. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Well, June is Pride Month, and all of us who believe in freedom and equality are speaking out for LGBTQ plus rights. But did you know there's a way to raise your voice for equality every month? In fact, every day. It's your phone if you use Credo Mobile. Credo Mobile has donated over $15 million to nonprofits working for equal rights, groups like National LGBTQ Task Force, Transgender Law Center, and the ACLU. And they'll continue to do so because they don't abandon their values when the political wind shifts. They stand for LGBTQ plus people during Pride Month and every month. If you're ready to switch, it's so easy to do. Here's how you make a difference. Go to credomobile.com. WCPT listeners can get 25% off your service for 2 years if you use the code WCPT25. Learn more at credomobile.com. That's credomobile.com. The best way to give back is to go to credomobile.com. That's credomobile.com. Don't forget, type in your code WCPT25.
Try being at home with Patty Vasquez.
Hold on a second. I'm going to take this on the air. Hey, Steve Lessman, this is Patty Vasquez. We're live on the air. Are you really calling me? Is the sales department calling me live on the air? Hey, Steve. Steve, you're on the air.
Did they make
You've done that to me. You could know Art from WCPT.
Why are they calling you?
I have no idea. He just saw me in the hallway. Come on now.
Patty Vasquez, weeknights 5 to 7 on WCPT 820.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers here for today with cloudy skies. Temperatures steady early, then slowly fall throughout the day. Winds out of the southwest of 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a slight chance for rain, cloudy, a low near 56. Thursday, mostly sunny, high of 72 degrees. Then by Friday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a high around 74. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 68.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to the show. Choose Views, that's who we are. 773-763-9278 is the Credo mobile phone and text line, and that's how you can reach out to us. Today's show has been about folks that are activists, that are getting involved, that have thrown their hat in the rings, that are inspiring others to get in the fight. And resetting how we go about winning, and that's taking place on a national level, regional level, and right here in the great old state of Illinois. With us this morning is I feel so bad saying this, but I'm going to say a young man, a young gentleman, but a dude that's been around for a little bit. He's got some experience. He's been a civic leader. He knows what's happened. He's been in small business, and that would be none other than Patrick Hanley. Welcome to the show, Patrick. Welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, Richard. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'll take young man any day of the week. That's
right, man. And listen, somebody comes to me with young man, I'm kind of between and betwixt on that. Do I want somebody saying, but I get it. It's like, depending on the age of the person that says it to me. I've had people say to me, they refer to me as young man, and they're actually younger than me. That one cracks me up. And I know they're younger than me, so I just laugh at that one. But Patrick, thank you for being with us this morning, and thanks for taking the time. When I saw what you were doing and I reached out to you, I know this was an organic pull this together, but sometimes that's how it happens. And in this space that we're in, sometimes that's seemingly to be one of the more effective ways. Tell our audience a little bit about you, a little bit about your background, and let's talk about where we're headed and what's involved in this candidacy that you have jumped into for Illinois State Senate.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a small business owner. My wife and I own an e-commerce company. We sell bedding, homewares, sleepwares, and that sort of thing. I'm a civic leader in the village of Winnetka. So up until I announced my run, led the environmental commission up in Winnetka, and I serve on a couple environmental boards. And I'm also a community organizer. So I got my start on the Obama campaign back in 2012, and I've been organizing ever since. Last summer, I co-founded Operation Swing State, where we sent about 10,000 Illinois volunteers up to Michigan, Wisconsin to knock 250,000 doors. So I've kind of got the business background, the civics background, and the organizing background, which kind of to the point that you made earlier, is what I think we should see from our elected leaders. We need elected leaders that can do more than what has traditionally been expected from them. And the way that this interview came together is you slid into my DMs on Instagram, and that is so indicative of the kinds of politicians that we should be looking to, folks that can show up anywhere, communicate anywhere, are proactive and effective, and are able to deliver a message in all sorts of different settings. So I appreciate you pulling me on.
Well, when I saw some of the things that you had posted and some of the things that you were talking about, I was like, I got to reach out to Patrick and see if there'd be an interest in talking. And largely because of the fact that you do have this blend of experience. And, historically, and you know this, many of our political leaders on a local level, on a state and a national level have had, some background in law, in the legal area, and they have gone on to their ascent in politics. I mean, we could list the numbers of presidents that have a law degree, or the numbers of governors that have had a law degree. But that's not a good thing, bad thing, or anything. It's just, it is what it's been customary, what we've been used to. But you've also been a very strong activist when it comes to the environment. And I think that is one of those categories that the Democratic Party has got to take back, they got to own, we've got to lean into, because we all, I say this oftentimes, Patrick, you, me, and 8 other people could be standing at the corner of Michigan Avenue and Wacker Drive. It'd be pretty breezy and windy, but we could be at Michigan and Wacker. Don't know each other. You and I know each other. The other 8 we don't know. But the one thing that's common at that moment is we're all breathing the same air.
That's right.
And I want us as a party, as a group, as a team, maybe a better way of putting it, to take that back over, because we all have that. We got to live on this thing called this planet. And you've been staunch about it. You've been unrelenting and unyielding about how important it is that we take back the leadership role as a country, but certainly as a party when it comes to that. Let's talk about that for a moment.
That's right, Richard. And I got to say, if you've been in Chicago the last few days, you know that air is pretty filled with Canadian wildfire smoke. Yeah. So your analogy is on point. I would take it a step back, and I'd say sustainability is a place where Democrats can lead. And that's not sustainability just on the environment, although that's critical, but it's sustainability in terms of our economy. I mean, I think what is driving the chaos in our politics right now is the insecurity that so many people feel. Where are they going to get their next paycheck? Are they going to have health care in a year? Can they rely on retirement benefits? Is our planet going to be livable? You know what I mean? It's this precarity that we're all living through at this chaotic time. And so if Democrats can take a long view and say, hey, we got your back, and we're going to set up systems that you can rely on. You know, we're going to set up an economy that's fair, and that you know that you're going to get taken care of one way or another. Your family's going to get taken care of, and your environment and the nature around you and the air that you breathe and the water that you drink, we're going to make sure that's clean too. And I think that's a perspective that I think Democrats ought to lead on, but that millennials and Gen Z and folks really grew up with. I mean, one of the things that I talk about is sustainability is the lens through which I see everything, the whole world, because my life has been witness to just a long series of policy failures and disasters that have been the result of unsustainable policy planning. And that's everything from economic deregulation to a cavalier foreign policy, you name it.
And that's one of the things that I think is going to be one of your superpowers. I think you're going to have a few of them. You might be bringing in a few of the quote-unquote Marvel superpowers in this process, because what you said about sustainability, I mean, you recognize that if we use that as a type in terms of building an organizational chart, we use that as a top item. And then from that, what you just laid out is exactly right. We want to make all of our systems operationally sustainable, so that we can say our environment at large, our water, our air, and other tools in that space are working effectively for everybody. Right. That our economy is an economy, and we're going to have different folks at different levels of the economy, but in the space that they're in, that it's working for them. And my definition of working is it's allowing them to live a respectable life with the aspiration of getting to whatever next level that might be. Foreign policy, that we're not always picking fights with folks, that we're not always, and some of it's our own making. We've picked a lot of fights, and we're defending the fights that we never should have gotten into, that we're resolving. I get that, and I'm not trying to go down the foreign policy conversation right now, but just on and on and on, having sustainability be making it about livability in our lives. How is your business? And let me preface this with, we have this guy in the White House that got everybody to believe, that head faked that he was this great business person. But so let me start by saying that. Got everybody head faked into believing and thinking that. And by comparison, I look at you as someone that has not only the educational background, but the practical running a small business and understanding all the pieces that come with doing that. So talk to us about why you believe that's going to be an asset and a resource for you as you're running for this state Senate seat.
Yeah, I really appreciate you calling that out. And that is something that is conscious. I pursued business in part because I knew that public service was something that I was interested in. But in the spaces in governments that I'd moved in Washington, D.C. and other places, folks didn't have that business background, so they couldn't internalize how businesses were thinking. How, why do folks hire, and why do they pay good or sub minimum wages? Why do folks innovate and create new products and create value in our economy? And so I wanted to make sure that I really understood that. So I pursued an MBA. I worked at management consulting. My wife and I now run this business, and it's given me such an insider view to how the private sector works, which I think is so fundamental. If we're going to be progressives and we're going to think about building a sustainable, fairer economy, we've really got to understand how the different economic actors work and why they do. And the one big lesson that I drew from that is more than taxes, even more than regulation, what businesses hate is uncertainty. They hate chaos. We hate chaos. Right now, our business is dealing with the will they, won't they tariff policy. Right? At one moment, there's this huge tariff on European goods, and they're dropping something important called de minimis, which we won't get into. The next moment, it's off. Now, maybe it's back on again. How can we plan what to charge folks for pillows if we don't know what they're going to have to pay in tariffs? Right? And that is, so the economic downturn we've seen over the last 4 or 5 months, it's largely been uncertainty. It's businesses not knowing how to plan and people not knowing how to spend, people not knowing how to budget to make sure they've got enough money to get them through the end of December. So it's that chaos that is really driving people crazy, which I think without having that business perspective, progressives and Democrats might sometimes think, oh, well, big bad business going after taxes again. And that's just not true. I think I can come from a place of authenticity and go to my fellow business leaders and say, hey, we might need to raise taxes a little bit in this state. We might need to look at regulations in certain areas and make them a little tougher or make them a little clearer. But we're going to do it with an eye to making the rules clear for you. So we're going to set rules that make sense for our society, and then you're going to go off and you're going to make money. And that's what businesses want to do. That's what they want to hear. They want a good, reliable partner out of government.
One of the things that I'm mindful of, and there's a lot of people running for offices, and this is just before you came on, we had one of our regular contributors to the show, Kurt Mullett, Hoosier Blue 63, and he's supporting a lot of candidates in Indiana that are running with the mindset of not taking money from or corporate dollars, so to speak. And I've talked to one particular gentleman that's running in Indiana, and I've said, you got to be mindful of that, to say none at all. Because I believe that there are businesses that are progressive businesses that are on the right side of electing folks to office, to the point that you just made. By understanding the integration, I believe, of business and politics and social progress, they all can work together uniquely and highly effectively. But I think what's happened is that so many politicians, and this is me labeling, and I shouldn't do it this way, so many folks that are in politics have taken massive dollars and they haven't done a damn thing to help the people in the communities. By contrast, there are people who've taken dollars, taken is a wrong word, but that have had dollars contributed to their campaign from businesses, and they've gone out and done magnificent things for the community. And it sounds to me like your background, your experience has given you a unique enough perspective and insight into how the three can work together: the social dollars, the corporate dollars, or the business dollars, and a good, well-heeled, honest, focused elected official. Am I crazy in saying that, or am I loosely in the room?
No, I appreciate that. And let me just say two things. So first, I do think that going out and saying, I'm not going to take corporate money, that sends a really loud message. And it sends a message to folks that are pretty frustrated with the level of corporate power in this country. And I totally respect that. And if that's the way that you want to do politics, that is a way to signal with a big, bright, flashing light that you are not going to be a pawn of the banks and of the oil companies. And you know what? God bless. Like, go for it. That makes sense. But to your point, I would say the campaign finance system in this country, and to an extent in this state, is pretty fundamentally broken to begin with. Yep. So I'm pretty skeptical of all dollars, you know what I mean, above $50 or whatever it is. If you come at me and you say, well, it's not okay to take money from the mom and pop shop, but it's fine to take money from the high net worth individual who lives down the street. Like, okay, really? Or, it's fine to take money from this PAC that was set up with a single issue that they care about. Like, really? Is that right? So, no, I mean, in this wild west of campaign finance, I think we really have to rely on candidates to show up with integrity. We gotta keep them accountable and keep an eye on what they're raising. Absolutely, for sure. But if you don't trust them to raise the right way and to use that money well, to communicate a message that is constructive, that is building a better and more healthy Democratic Party, then you got a fundamental problem that you got to deal with in the first place. Yeah, something's wrong with that candidate.
That is so well, and I'm going to tell you, you need to hold on to those last 10 sentences, because that is the essence, I believe, of where we are in this conversation around financing campaigns. Is that you could have a guy or a gal down the street that's loaded, and he or she has an issue that they're going to throw a bunch of money at you about. That could be just as harmful, and that's not corporate money per se, but that could be just as harmful as a corporation or an entity versus an individual throwing you a bunch of money. So it is about the system and the system being repaired versus the entities or the individuals being repaired. We're talking with Patrick Hanley, who is running for state senate here in Illinois, and I'm so excited to have him on the show. I'm going to ask you a couple other questions before we wrap up, and then we will have you back, because you have been you've been one of those new bright spots in this space, and I'm excited about the fact that you have decided to jump in this race. So, Patrick, you've witnessed this in the recent weeks of the number of Republican elected officials on a national level, but now it's starting to sort of work its way down on a state level, that are not showing up for town halls or meetings in their districts. And it's not just the federal, the 535s. It's the folks that are in state legislatures that are doing some of the same thing. And it's coming clearly, from the right, or those are the ones that are not showing up. So what's your thought, your observation about that? And do you see it as an opportunity for Democrats on all levels of elected politics to be able to take advantage of?
What a gift. What a gift, right, to Democrats nationwide. You have a party from the top all the way down to the bottom that now agrees that its agenda and what it's trying to do and the way that it's trying to do it is so chaotic and corrupt and inept and unpopular that they can't even show up at a town hall to defend it, because they know they're going to get questions they can't answer. Or, like Senator Ernst, they're going to say something god-awful, which is going to rocket its way around the country. So good. You know what? This is an enormous opportunity for Democrats to show up. And if the major criticism that Democrats received over the last several years was our inability to communicate with folks on the ground, meet voters where they're at, then this is the perfect opportunity for us to fix that problem. We should show up. We should be everywhere. We should take every question. And I got to say, I've been on this campaign trail for 3 weeks, right? And I've been in a number of rooms across the district, different kinds of rooms, different kinds of people. I'll get really interesting questions from across the board. I'll get questions from, kind of right-leaning folks, left-leaning folks, you name it. And in the beginning, it's a little scary, because you'll get a question, you're like, oh no, this is a complicated one. If I say this the wrong way, people are going to come in. But the truth is, if you're honest, and if you take a question by the horns, and if you address it rooted in your values, people get it.
Yep.
Right? The room gets it. The room appreciates that you took it on. I think what people don't want to see is they don't want to see talking points. They don't want to see dodging. And they absolutely need to see you showing up.
Patrick, I don't know how you were raised, but there's a thing that my father used to say to me, and I've done my best throughout my life, and not to make this about me, but about how our leaders can go forward. He used to say to me, boy, if you don't know, just say, I don't know.
Right.
If you don't know, it's okay to not know. And that's a hard thing. I mean, it's hard for people in general, but it's hard for guys oftentimes to say, I don't know.
Sure.
But say you don't know. I think in those rooms that you're going into, and so many other of our leaders, you've got to be willing to say, listen, ma'am or sir, that just asked a question, I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that I'm going to do everything I can to try to find an answer and try to find a way forward that's going to better your lives, and come from a truthful, meaningful, heartfelt position. Folks want that. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And listen, that is speaking to the heart of what the future of our democratic leadership ought to be. And that is leaders who are leading with authenticity, leading with their values and with their story. And if they do that, and if they come to politics with the humility that you just talked about, that's going to resonate with people a lot more than the way folks have been trained to act in the political space, very stilted and very on message and very rigid. And look, I want to be empathetic. Like, I actually think those politicians learned what they felt they had to do in order to succeed. And they overlearned the lesson and they became robots, right? Yep. And then the way in which we communicate totally shifted so that folks didn't read about what they had to write or watch them on TV. They interacted with them in person and on social media. And so they expect more authenticity. So it's not about them. It's just about the way communication has changed. And what voters expect now are real people, right? Real people that they can relate to, they can resonate with, people that are going to be communicative, people that are going to drop a reel on Instagram and answer their DMs and show up in a living room. I mean, you got to be able to do it all. And that is just the future of political leadership in this country.
I think it's the future of leadership and connection, business and other social and most definitely political. You were checking some boxes this morning, and I know that our listeners all over the country are recognizing that as one of the new voices, fresh voices. Patrick, it's been an honor to talk with you this morning. I can't wait to have you back on the show. I know you've got a lot in front of you, and this is early in the process. But let folks know how they can find you, how they can get involved with your campaign, with your work, because I think it's important that folks know how to do that.
Richard, it's been such a pleasure, and I can't wait to come back. 7:20 works really well for me. I've got 2 little babies, so I'm up at 5 anyways. So this is great. The easiest way to get involved with the campaign is to follow us on Instagram at Patrick Rock Hanley, or head to our website, hanleyforillinois.com. And there's all sorts of events that are coming up throughout the month and over the summer. I'd love to see you at any of them. We've got town halls planned, parades. We're planting a prairie on Saturday, which I'm really excited for. So all sorts of different ways to get involved in the campaign, and I can't wait to see you on the trail.
Absolutely. Patrick Hanley, y'all. Thanks for being with us this morning. We'll talk with you soon. Have a great day, Patrick.
You too, Richard. Thanks so much.
All right. Bye-bye. Henry, as quickly as we can, let's try to grab a couple of quick calls as we wrap up. Let's go to Paul real quickly in Seattle. Hey, Paul, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on, Richard? So I guess the ladies on the dating platform, no MAGA Trumpies allowed. Here's the point. I heard angry blonde press secretary, the Trump administration, billionaire press secretary at 27, say that the problem with Harvard is that diversity, point of view diversity, is more important than racial, ethnic, and gender diversity. In other words, she said, there are no conservative professors at Harvard. And I thought, well, I'm not necessarily sure that's true. Back in 2018, there was a book that came out called Passing on the Right by John A. Shields, and it broke down the stats about professors. And other than the social sciences, it said that most other disciplines, it's about 50-50, give or take. Like math and sciences, more conservative professors, liberal arts, few more liberal professors. But as it's true with even my own friends and acquaintances, since the Bush era, I would say something like, hey, I thought John and Lisa were Republicans. Somebody say, not anymore, man. And then more recently, I would say something like, hey, I thought Miles is a Republican. Miles and Reddit, they're Republicans. Not anymore, man. Because what's happened is, it's not that there aren't any conservative professors. It's not that the GOP has moved so far extreme that everybody who's to the left of that is a liberal, as far as they're concerned. So I don't think that the Trump administration is really after diversity of any kind. They just want their point of view. And that kind of strikes to my observation when I was logging onto the stream this morning. Every morning when I log on to the stream, I see the new stories on the WCPT website about another power grab somewhere.
That's
and it's time. Yeah, it's time. They're willing to play smash mouth politics And that's what Democrats have to do. No more equivocating, middle-of-the-road Democrats. If we want to win this one, we're going to have to start playing that kind of politics.
Good point, Paul. Thanks for calling in this morning, man. I wanted to get you in before we wrap up today.
Yeah, thanks.
As always, Paul bringing the latest message. Listen, guys, what an honor today. We had our first segment of our interview with Dr. Chic Canfora and Dr. Thomas Grace with the help of our good friend Kurt Hurner in Ohio. And then we had the opportunity to talk to Kurt Mullett, joking to what Paul just said about MAGA's desire to have a one-way street, if you will. And then, in case you didn't catch it, Patrick Hanley, he's one of those new voices, guys. He really is. And I'm excited to see the work that he's going to get done and the perspective that he brings to this conversation and the way in which he's going to be doing it. So check him out, follow him, see if there are ways that you can get involved in his campaign. I think he's going to be one of those voices that we've been asking for, and that we've been hoping would emerge and then evolve. So we'll see what happens. But I was following some of the things that he had posted a few weeks ago, and I thought, if I can be so fortunate as to have him on the show, I think it would be great for all of us to hear his message. So make sure to check him out. Today has been, as I said, I wanted to kind of focus on fighting and activism and new fighters. And Kurt's got a few in his group with the Indiana Coalition that he's put together, Indiana People's Coalition, and most definitely the reminders from folks that have been doing this for a longer period of time, and Drs. Canfora and Dr. Grace, but also Patrick Hanley, a new voice that stepped to the mic and said, we're going to do this try to do this a little bit differently. So we'll see. But I'm excited about the fact that we've got people like this that are in the fight with us. Make your way to their particular sites, specifically to follow Patrick and get involved if you can. And most definitely tomorrow you want to tune in, because we've got a full house tomorrow with Cliff Cash, Sean Harris, and Brian Lemech that'll be with us. In the meantime, as we wrap up, guys, you know what I'm saying. Take a deep breath and make your life count. We will see you tomorrow.
Excuse me, miss. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you recommend a bank that offers a full suite of commercial banking products along with excellent service?
Yes, ABOC.
What about a bank that has been in Chicago for more than 100 years and really understands the local business climate?
ABOC.
But I manage a labor union. Can you recommend a bank that really understands how labor unions operate and what banking products they need?
Again, ABOC. ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922 and understands the local business climate better than anyone. ABOC was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders today, so they really understand